So this was one of the very first meadows that I reclaimed from the oxalis and other weeds of every variety that grow around here. You're all familiar with them. So this is basically Idaho fescue with a little bit of California brome and purple needlegrass and a variety of other things, maybe a bit of June grass. Quite a few perennials in here, lots of foothill penstemon. There's quite a few bulbs. Tritolea ixioides seems to be pretty happy here, which I'm surprised because where I've seen it in nature is that up in the high country, the high Sierras, where it'll cover a whole hillside. It's really spectacular. But there are quite a few things that come up later on. There's quite a bit of Mariposa lily here. There'll be a half a dozen big soap roots that bloom and they keep spreading. There's also some milkweed that comes up. So there's a lot of interesting things that come up here in this meadow. It's about 25 years old. And a little bit of the history of this hillside, it was actually disked for decades. And one of the things that happens during disking is that you get soil slump in a big way. I mean, if you disk a hillside with this slope for 50, 60 years, and it took me a while to figure this out, there will be a huge swale in the middle and a big berm at the bottom. It might seem a little hard to believe that there was about a 20-foot berm at the bottom and there was a swale that was about 10 to 15 feet lower in the middle. And one day a whole herd of bobcats, the machines, basically regraded this hillside. And wherever they regraded it, the ground, actually there was pretty good soil in the berm. So everywhere where they regraded it and put a layer of new soil, it's quite a bit more fertile. They never had to come up here and regrade this. So these grasses never really get too thick, and it allows the wildflowers and other things to grow. So, excuse me, there's Mount Hamilton in the distance, and our nice view of the lower meadow. Heading back up here towards the house. When we first moved in, this whole hill to the left below the brick wall was covered in Vinca major, so I had to pull that out. Actually, there were probably a half a dozen olive trees, just all volunteers. There were olive trees, quite a bit of French broom, and quite a bit of poison oak through here. So this is the one area where we got rid of the poison oak. So there's black sage. All of these toyon have been transplanted from other parts of the garden. Probably did that about 10 years ago, so they've gotten pretty good sized. And then went to Yerba Buena Nursery one day, and Matt, the fellow there, said you should try cream bush. So these cream bush were planted about 20 years ago. By the way, everything outside of the garden that's immediately up against the house never gets watered except in the winter when I'm establishing things. So this is all a dry land, perfectly natural native plant garden. So there's some California buckwheat right here. This volunteers pretty readily. Really nice big patch of hummingbird sage. Usually you see this in the dappled shade of an oak tree, but here it's just full-on sun facing directly south and seems to be pretty happy. Planted some Channel Island chamise. It's a prostrate chamise, available occasionally. And deerweed lemonade berry. Lemonade berry, some of the other shrubs get attacked by young deer, bucks occasionally, and can actually do quite a bit of damage, and I just have to cut them back and hope they come back. This one's been spared for quite a few years now. And then there's California sagebrush. Almost all of this sagebrush has volunteered from one that I may have originally planted, and then it just spreads quite a bit. So I plant them around. I also weed them. Here's a Dr. Hurd. I have a number of, here's some Darra's Choice that are probably 20 years old. They do okay without any water. I think I might have mentioned that this group of chaparral plants here, sagebrush and black sage and monkey flower. There's a Pajaro manzanita there. There's quite a bit of munch sage and buckwheat and woolly blue curls. Provides really excellent cover for quail and everything else. There's a scurry zone around this clump of chaparral. So right in here, kind of evidence that the quail love, the sun is coming out after all. This is basically due to quail wallowing in the dirt. So they will, I've only seen them do it from afar, so I'm pretty much guessing that that's exactly what's going on here. But they will come down here and wallow in the dust, and then actually do it enough that they, there's a quail wallow right there if you can see it. And then if I were on the tour this year, I would have to clear away the different plants, particularly the grasses start to overarch on the path. It actually takes quite a while to do it because we've got almost a quarter mile of path here. And I do it by hand just so it looks like it's a little natural. They don't look like they've been whacked away. And here's, this is a Darra's Choice. And here are some blue-eyed grass. Probably mentioned we have thousands of them here.